The hotel driveway was a kill zone. Not in the dramatic way civilians mean it, no muzzle flashes, no screaming. In the quiet way that matters. Hard surfaces. Predictable choke points. Glass and polished stone that turn sound into directionless noise. A canopy that creates a false sense of shelter. A rope line that funnels bodies into a corridor. Multiple elevated vantage points, balconies, lobby windows, the mezzanine above the porte-cochere, perfect for observation and perfect for attack. My sister saw a red carpet. I saw angles. I sat behind the wheel at 10 and 2, not because I needed to, but because muscle memory is retention. The leather was cold. My hands were steady. My jacket carried a faint, familiar bite of CLP and cold air, the kind of smell that doesn't wash out because it's not on the fabric. It's in the habit. In the mirror, my sister adjusted lipstick and checked her phone camera. Filters, framing, and the little micro-smile people use when they're already imagining the photo they haven't taken yet. I wasn't imagining anything. I was counting exits. Primary lane, secondary lane, service lane. The valet line. The staff door. The glass doors that lead into the lobby, beautiful and stupid. The small gap between the planters and the rope stanchions, wide enough for a body, narrow enough to trap one. I clocked the bulges too, the telltale silhouette of concealed carry under a suit coat, a beltline printing that didn't match the cut of the fabric. Not necessarily hostile, but unknown assets in a crowded perimeter are still unknown assets. A woman in a black suit with an earpiece moved across the driveway with purpose. Not staff. Detail. That's when I knew the timeline was real. You can feel a high-threat detail before you see the principle. The way they take space. The way they don't apologize for it. The way they look through people instead of at them. My phone buzzed once, no ring-own, no vibration theatrics. Just a tight pulse against my thigh. Position? 10 minutes out. I typed back with my left hand without looking down. Confirmed. Secondary lane. Eyes on. My sister leaned forward from the back seat and tapped the glass with a nail that cost more than my hotel per diem ever has. Pull closer, she said. Operational noise. I nudged the vehicle forward half a length and stopped where I could see the approach and still have room to maneuver. The tires crunched lightly over gravel. A valet drifted toward me automatically, hand out for keys, eyes already moving past me to the next arrival. I didn't hand him anything. I didn't get out. Because the first rule in a kill zone is simple. Don't volunteer your position. My sister stepped out in a dress that glittered like it wanted to be remembered. She moved toward the entrance with practiced confidence, the kind that comes from believing the world is a mirror. A clipboard staffer approached her, smile, list, laminated efficiency. My sister delivered her name like it was a credential. The staffer nodded and glanced toward the driver's seat, toward me longer than she needed to. My sister followed the glance and laughed, small and polished. Then she said the line I'd heard in different forms my entire life, always dressed up as humor, always sharpened at the edges. Don't worry about her, she said. She's just my driver. Just. I didn't flinch. I didn't tighten my jaw. I didn't do the emotional math civilians do when they decide whether an insult is worth responding to. I classified it. A person who reduces assets to props is a security liability. They miss threats because they're busy managing optics. They create predictable patterns because they think predictability is elegance. They invite chaos, then blame the world when it arrives. My sister didn't understand that the moment she called me just a driver, she wasn't insulting me. She was announcing a vulnerability to anyone paying attention. Security shifted. Not the casual repositioning of bored hotel guards, this was coordinated. Earpieces touched. Hands drifted near jackets. Two men moved into a staggered formation that closed sight lines from the street. The valet line was paused by a quiet hand signal. The rope line tightened and straightened like it had been pulled by an invisible winch. A black SUV entered the driveway without waiting its turn. It didn't blend. It didn't need to. It stopped in the secondary lane, the lane I'd chosen, the lane with the cleanest extraction path if something went loud. Its engine idled with a low, expensive hum. The first man out scanned high, then low, then the crowd, eyes not looking for people, looking for anomalies. The second man checked the perimeter behind them because amateurs stare forward. The rear door opened. Mr. Hartwell stepped out like gravity had signed an agreement with him. My sister's posture changed instantly, shoulders back, smile on, chin tilted toward the cameras. She took a half step forward, rehearsed warmth ready to deploy. She thought this was her moment. Hartwell didn't look at her. He didn't look at the rope line. He didn't look at the photographers. His eyes found me through the windshield, and the detail around him adjusted like a system recognizing its missing component. He walked forward. My sister moved to intercept, hand lifting for a greeting that assumed entitlement. Hartwell walked past her without a pause. He stopped at my door. Then, in a motion so deliberate it quieted the air around us, he reached out and opened it himself. That's when my sister's face finally did something unfiltered. Confusion first, because confusion is what happens when your narrative fails to load. Hartwell's voice was calm. Not loud. Not performative. "Commander," he said. One word. One title. A rank that rearranged every assumption in a 10-foot radius. Behind him, his lead security's head snapped slightly, confirmation, recognition, recalibration. The team didn't relax. They never relax. But their posture shifted from uncertainty to alignment, the way a weapon system hums differently when it's properly zeroed. "Sir," I said, stepping out smoothly, not fast, not slow. Controlled. Neutral. He held my gaze like we were back in a different environment, one without cameras, one where names mattered less than capability. "Horn of Africa," he said. Not a question. A reference point. I didn't respond with nostalgia. I responded with a nod. His mouth tightened into something that wasn't a smile, but wasn't nothing either. "You saved my people," he said, just loud enough for my sister to hear, not loud enough to give the driveway a story it could repeat. Then he looked at my sister for the first time. Not with anger. With assessment. My sister's lips parted. She tried to recover, tried to force the world back into the version where she was central. "Oh my God," she laughed, too bright. "This is my sister. She's with me. She's just..." Hartwell's gaze stayed on her as if he were reading a document he suspected was forged. "This isn't your driver," he said. "This is the only person in this zip code I'd trust to keep me alive." Core hook, made real. My sister blinked hard, like blinking could correct reality. And then the burn got cinematic, not because anyone raised their voice, but because the system did what systems do when they detect a breach. A woman in a tailored black coat, detail supervisor, stepped in at Hartwell's flank and spoke into her mic. "Confirm identity," she said. "We have credential misuse." Credential misuse. My sister's head snapped toward her. "Excuse me." I watched the driveway the way I always do when someone starts talking too much. I widen my awareness, because words create distraction and distraction creates openings. Hartwell didn't move. His team did. One operator shifted position to block the sister from stepping closer. Another subtly widened the buffer around Hartwell by 2 feet, not by pushing people, but by occupying space the way professionals do. The valet line resumed, but rerouted around us. The rope line tightened again. My sister's eyes went to me, sharp now, accusatory. "What is this?" she demanded. "Why is he?" She couldn't finish the sentence because finishing it would require acknowledging the truth. She didn't know who I was when I wasn't useful to her. Hartwell's supervisor lifted a tablet and glanced at the screen. "Ma'am," she said, voice flat, "your access was obtained through a credential tied to a Tier 1 operator. That credential is Commander." Her eyes flicked to me, and it was used to bypass civilian vetting protocols. My sister's face drained. "That's not," she started. "It is," the supervisor said, and tapped the screen again. "Timestamped. Verified. Linked to your email address." My sister turned on me like a searchlight finding its target. "You did this," she hissed. "You set me up." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend my dignity. I didn't argue with emotion because emotion is a luxury in operational spaces. I stated a fact. "You used my credentials," I said. "Without authorization." She scoffed, trying to make it small. "It's just a name. It's a security breach," I interrupted, still calm. "And you did it in a high-threat environment." Hartwell watched her the way you watch someone walking too close to the edge of something they don't understand. My sister tried another angle, charm, pleading, performance. "I didn't mean anything by it," she said, hands lifting. "I was just trying to get in. Everyone does it." "It's not like..." "Everyone doesn't," Hartwell said. Quiet. Final. Then he looked at me again. "Commander," he said. "Are we compromised?" I scanned the perimeter again, eyes moving, not darting. I checked the balconies, the lobby glass, the service entrance, the flow of foot traffic. I clocked the concealed carries again. I watched for the one thing that matters most. Behavior that doesn't match environment. "No active threat indicators," I said. "But we have an insider behavior pattern and an access vulnerability." Hartwell nodded once. "Then we proceed," he said. "With corrections." The supervisor spoke into her mic again. "Remove the risk from the perimeter," she said. No drama. No shouting. Just a sentence that turned my sister from main character into problem set. Two security personnel approached her, not aggressive, not angry. Professional. The kind of calm that terrifies people who rely on social manipulation, because you can't flirt your way out of procedure. Ma'am, one said, we need you to step away from the principal. What? My sister laughed, too loud, eyes darting to the photographers. No, this is ridiculous. I'm invited. I'm with him. The guard didn't argue. Step away. My sister looked at me like she expected me to intervene the way I always had. To smooth it. To fix it. To absorb the consequences on her behalf. I didn't move. Because I'd learned something in my line of work that applies everywhere. If you keep covering for someone's mistakes, they stop believing mistakes apply to them. Hartwell's supervisor turned the tablet toward my sister. Your invite is being revoked, she said. Not as punishment. As mitigation. Mitigation. The word was clean. Cold. Accurate. My sister's voice rose into a register it usually reserved for people she thought were beneath her. You can't do this, she snapped. Do you know who I am? The supervisor's face didn't change. Yes, she said. You're the breach vector. That was the moment my sister's confidence collapsed into panic. Panic always looks like anger right before it looks like pleading. She leaned toward me, voice dropping. You're doing this to me because you're jealous. You always. I cut her off with a stare that wasn't emotional. It was operational. Stop talking, I said. You're generating noise. Her eyes widened. She didn't understand the language. She didn't understand that in this environment, talking wasn't power. It was risk. Hartwell's gaze stayed on me. You remember Mogadishu corridor, he said softly, like he was checking a compass. When the radios went down. I did remember. The smell of dust and hot metal. The weight of responsibility. The feel of a plan collapsing and being rebuilt in real time. You didn't talk, he continued. You moved. I nodded once. Talking is for after, I said. Exactly, he replied. Then, to his team, proceed with off-site movement. Commander has lead. My sister flinched at the title again like it physically hurt her. Commander. Lead. Not just. We moved inside through the staff corridor, because in real high-value environments, the main doors are for show. The safe doors are hidden. The hallway smelled like polished stone and expensive disinfectant. Quiet. Thick carpet. No windows. A controlled space. Hartwell's chief of staff met us near a private lounge and handed me a printed movement plan with annotations already marked. Routes were altered, he said. Vehicle order changed. 2 plates don't match our roster. I read it fast. No wasted motion. The alteration was subtle, exactly the kind of subtle that gets people killed because it looks like a scheduling error. Who touched this? I asked. The chief of staff didn't answer immediately. That pause was a confession. Same account that filed the credential request, he said finally. My sister. Not because she was malicious. Because she was careless. And in my world, carelessness can be lethal. I didn't need to punish her. I needed to correct the plan. I took control of the movement plan the way I take control of any operation. Establish baseline, identify contamination, isolate variables. Lock the roster, I said. No more changes without 2-factor confirmation. Verify plates manually. Confirm drivers with face-to-roster check. Move decoy to secondary lane. Adjust stagger to 90 seconds. No stops. The team moved. No debate. No ego. That's what competence looks like when it's real. It doesn't announce itself. It executes. Hartwell watched me work with the same calm he'd had in the field because he knew what I was doing wasn't about pride. It was about survival. And that's the piece my sister never understood. There are rooms where your personality is irrelevant. Where your looks don't matter. Where your followers don't protect you. Where your connections evaporate the second you become a risk. In those rooms, your value is your discipline. When the off-site movement executed, it was clean. Quiet. Invisible. Exactly how it should be. No late arrivals. No unknown vehicles. No gaps. No surprises. Afterward, Hartwell's chief of staff handed me a card. Contract, he said. Operations and high-threat transport oversight. Full-time. You already do the work. We want it formal. I glanced at the card once, then pocketed it. Hartwell looked at me. Commander, he said, you're still active duty? Yes, sir, I replied. Then we coordinate properly, he said. No shortcuts. Shortcuts. Another word my sister loved. Another word that gets people hurt. When we returned to the lobby, The gala noise washed over us, music, laughter, the hunger people have to be near what they believe matters. My sister was near the entrance, flanked by security, still trying to negotiate with facial expressions like she could charm procedure into changing its mind. The moment she saw me, she surged forward, then stopped when the guard shifted slightly to block her. Her eyes locked on mine, and for the first time all night her expression wasn't polished. It was raw. "You did this," she said, voice shaking. "You made me look stupid." I answered like a commander giving a debrief. Calm. Precise. "You made yourself a security risk," I said. "They removed you because that's what professionals do with risks." She swallowed. "It was just a shortcut," she whispered, as if making it small could make it safe. I watched her like I would watch a junior operator after a near miss, without cruelty, without softness, with clarity. "In my world," I said, "shortcuts are how body bags happen." Her face twisted. "So what, you're going to ruin me now? You're going to tell mom and dad and—" I shook my head once. "This isn't about ruining you," I said. "This is about stopping." She blinked. "Stopping what?" "Stopping the cycle where you treat my competence like a tool," I said. "Stopping the habit of me absorbing your consequences." Her breathing hitched. She tried one last lever, family. "You're my sister," she said. "You're supposed to have my back." I held her gaze. "I do," I replied. "That's why I didn't let you stay inside after you breached protocols. If you'd stayed, you would have made it worse." She stared at me, and for a moment I saw something behind her anger, fear. The fear that without performance, she had nothing to stand on. Security moved her toward the exit. Not roughly. Not dramatically. Like taking a glass off a table before it tips. She turned her head once more as she was escorted, voice sharp with desperation. "This isn't over," she said. I didn't answer. Because in operational life, once a breach happens, the conversation isn't about feelings. It's about outcomes. My phone rang later, my parents, of course. The same pattern. When the golden child stumbles, the family calls the dependable one and asks her to become the shock absorber. I listened to the first voicemail. "Your sister is upset," my father said. "What did you do?" "Fix this. Fix this." As if my job is to erase other people's mistakes. I didn't call back. Not because I was angry. Because I was done. In the weeks that followed, my sister tried every tactic: rage, tears, bargaining, pretending nothing happened, then rage again. My parents tried guilt. "Family doesn't do this," my mother said. I asked her, calmly, "Does family use a Tier 1 operator's credentials to bypass vetting and create a security vulnerability?" Silence. They didn't know how to respond because they weren't operating with my definitions. Their definitions were social. Mine were tactical. Eventually, the noise faded. That's what happens when you stop feeding it. And the strangest part was this. The less I engaged, the more solid I felt. Not triumphant. Clear. If you've ever been reduced to just something, just the helper, just the quiet one, just the one who handles it, listen closely. Your competence will always attract people who want the benefits without respecting the cost. They will call it love. They will call it family. They will call it not a big deal. But competence is not free. It's built in silence. Paid for in discipline. Earned in rooms where mistakes have consequences. That night, my sister came looking for status. Hartwell came looking for survival. And the difference between those two goals is the difference between performance and reality. So here's the ending, the cold brew finish, no shouting, no dramatic apology, no rain-soaked confrontation. Just procedure. Security removed her because she was a risk. Hartwell offered me a role because I was an asset. And my family learned, slowly, that I wasn't available to be used anymore. I didn't embarrass you. I stopped covering for you. And in my world, there are no second chances for a security breach.